What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. As always, we're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Stop in on any one of their 24 branch locations or TrueMark.com/PHLY to get started today. Welcome into a Friday edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast as we broadcast live from the Xfinity Lounge. We've made it to the end of another work week, and we are here on the precipice of another weekend, Dallas week. We're going to talk a lot about it on Philadelphia. I know they're going to talk about it on the Eagles show. It is that dreaded Dallas week, or maybe excitable Dallas week, however you want to phrase it. The Eagles and the Cowboys get set for game 2 of the season. It feels like an eternity ago that the Eagles and Cowboys opened up the 2025 season on Monday Night Football, the Jalen Carter spitting experience, and he and Dak Prescott getting at it, and the lightning delay. And it feels like it was an eternity ago, and it was really, 13 weeks ago. But we'll talk about that on Philadelphia. Obviously, we are here for the PHLY Phillies podcast, and today I thought we'd have some fun. Not a lot going on right now. I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, MLB free agency right now is pretty dead. There was the Taylor Ward trade the other day to the Orioles from the Angels. That was a big news piece. I think that there's hot stove rumors and hypotheticals and things like that. But right at this juncture of free agency, there's really not a whole lot going on, which means I guarantee you, Ethan, somebody is going to get signed in the middle of the show because I just jinxed us to eternity. But right now, there's not a whole lot going on. And so, because of that, I thought we'd have some fun with some hypotheticals, play that like bar room, hanging out with your buddies, drinking some beers type of scenario where you play the would you rather. Like, would you rather this guy on your team or this player? Would you rather prime Ted Williams or prime, Hank Aaron? You play that type of scenario, whatever it might be. That type of like bar stool conversation where you're sitting around with your buddies and you're just having a good time and you're playing the hypotheticals. This stems from an article that was written by Mark Feinzan on MLB.com, which was a tier list of MLB free agents. And it was a tier list of tiers 1 through 5. Most of the players fall in tiers 3 through 5. There's only a handful of players in tier 1, handful of players in tier 2, but it highlights the different tiers of free agents available. And here's who the Phillies free agents, this is where they sat on the list. Kyle Schwarber and Ranger Suarez were both in tier 1. JT Realmuto in tier 2. Harrison Bader was in tier 3. Walker Buehler, Max Kepler, and David Robertson were in tier 4. So we're going to kind of dive into those a little bit, see if that's the right spot, and then play some hypotheticals. But before we do that, here's what's coming up on the PHLY Phillies podcast. As we said, we'll play the Would You Rather game, coming up with a couple of different free agents. We're going to talk about ranking starting pitchers for both 2025 and heading into 2026, specifically because I want to see where you rank Cristopher Sánchez heading into 2026 on the cusp of his Cy Young runner-up season in 2025. Where does he rank for you in terms of starting pitchers? I also want to talk about Tarik Skubal because, again, Tarik Skubal's name is being floated out in trade rumors, and I got to be honest with you, I just don't get it. I don't understand why. We'll talk more about the dynamics and the landscape of Detroit being, a mid-market team and why they may be floating his name out there. But again, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then at about 12:45, we're going to finish our Friday like we do each and every Friday with some Phillies trivia. And we're going to be joined by a special guest for the final 15 minutes of the show. But until that time, it's myself, Tyler Zulli, it's Ethan Hartley producing the show, and it's you hanging out with us here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Let's start with the Would You Rather game. These are all just, again, hypothetical questions where it kind of gets you thinking. It's meant to be fun, lighthearted, but also get you to think a little bit in terms of, would you rather this player or that player? Would you rather this scenario or that scenario? So let's start with the question that's the headline of the show, the thumbnail of the show, the question from Tier 1. Would you rather Kyle Schwarber return as the Phillies DH, or Pete Alonso signs as a free agent, Kyle Schwarber signs elsewhere, and either the Phillies split first base between Schwarber and Harper, the other plays DH, or Bryce Harper moves back to the outfield in a much more long-term situation where Pete Alonso would be your first baseman. Now, if you remember, about this time last year, Bryce Harper said he would be open to a return to the outfield if it benefited the Phillies. If it meant that the Phillies were going to sign a big-time free agent or make a big-time trade to acquire a first baseman, that would mean that Harper could go back to the outfield. I think when you read between the tea leaves and looked at the numbers, Bryce Harper was referring to Pete Alonso last year. And so Pete Alonso doesn't get the contract that he expects. He signs the 2-year deal, really like that balloon contract, has an opt-out after year 1, takes the opt-out, and is now a free agent once again. And I think is primed to get a really big contract for a multitude of reasons. One, he had a much better year this year than he did last year in terms of his average, his slug. We'll get into all of it in just a second. So I think Alonso is going to be in that conversation for a really big-time deal, and it's why he's in Mark Feinsand's Tier 1, because his 2025 was better than his 2024. The other reasoning is, now that Josh Naylor has signed, and I'm not sure that Josh Naylor is more important than Pete Alonso, but now that Josh Naylor has signed, Pete Alonso is, without a doubt, the best first baseman on the market. The best first baseman that's readily available is Pete Alonso. And so I guess this is where that first question comes in. Would you prefer Schwarber to be the DH and run it back on a 4 or 5 year deal? We've talked a lot about the numbers. My expectation is in the 130 to 140 range. Somewhere in that ballpark of $30 to $35 million a season. Or would you be interested in trying a new thing? Pete Alonso becomes that right-handed power bat that you're looking for. You do lose the lefty power in Kyle Schwarber, but Bryce Harper would potentially either split time at first base, get off his feet and DH a little bit, or you could figure out a scenario in which Alonso plays first base full time and Harper could be moved back to the outfield. Let's take a look at the comparison numbers between Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso last year in 2025. I got to be honest, I think both of these guys had career years. In terms of sheer power, Kyle Schwarber's 56 home runs led the National League. Only Cal Raleigh hit more. His 132 RBIs were the best in baseball. He had a 563 slug, which was the best in the National League, or second in the National League, behind Shohei Ohtani. And his OPS plus was 50% better than the league average throughout the season. Inversely, I thought Pete Alonso had an excellent year. His average rose significantly. Another year in which he was in the high 30s, close to 40 home runs at 38 for the season. His 126 RBIs were only bested by Kyle Schwarber's 132, a very respectable, in fact, really good 524 slug, and his OPS plus was just 6 points lower than Schwarber's at 144. Now, to go further than that, both of these guys had exceptional metric seasons as well. Schwarber was in the 97th percentile or better in average exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit percentage, expected slug, and in walk rate. And his 85 barrels that he had this season were the 4th best in baseball. 2 of the guys ahead of him were the guys that won MVP, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. The only other guy in front of him was Pete Alonso, who had 89. Pete Alonso himself, again, had a really good season, maybe a career year. Only Schwarber had more RBI. He finished 8th in baseball with 38 home runs. Those 89 barrels, again, ranked him 1 ahead of Kyle Schwarber and just below Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. He had a really good offensive season. He also had career highs in average at 272 and was second best career numbers in terms of slugging and OPS. So in terms of offensive productivity, Pete Alonso was really good himself. For a team that struggled down the stretch, he was one of the few constants in their lineup, especially later in the season. It was an excellent year for Pete Alonso as well. And the one thing that I will give Pete Alonso credit for, much like I think you can give to Kyle Schwarber, the only thing is Schwarber is a full-time DH now, and Alonso has been a full-time first baseman, which gives a little bit more merit to Alonso in this conversation. Pete Alonso has missed 24 games since he debuted in 2019. He has played 1,008 of the 1,032 games in the regular season the Mets have played over his time as a Met. That is a 97.7% games played rate since joining the big leagues. The durability is without a question there. And it was a really, really strong year for Pete Alonso. I think both of these guys, as I said at the top, had excellent seasons, maybe the best seasons of their career. in terms of offensive productivity. The knock on Pete Alonso, as it's been for a majority of his career, is his defense. He's not a good defensive first baseman. He was in the second percentile of outs above average last year at -9. His -8 fielding run value was the 26th worst amongst all qualified players in baseball. It was the 7th worst amongst infielders, and it was tied with Michael Toglia, who the Rockies just DFA'd this week, for the worst amongst first basemen. Comp that to Bryce Harper, who metrically had a down year in terms of outs above average. He had a 1 this year compared to an 8 last year, but he was still a Gold Glove candidate for the second time in 2 seasons since full-time moving to first base. Pete Alonso's defense is not good. So you would be making your defense worse by adding Pete Alonso to the mix. No matter what you did, unless Pete Alonso was your everyday DH, which he has said he's open to playing some DH. I don't know if that necessarily means he's open to playing all DH, but if he is going to play some first, your defense gets worse, objectively. Harper's a much better defender than he is. He also has a lower sprint speed than Kyle Schwarber, so if you're thinking about base running, it gets worse from Kyle Schwarber, which is unbelievable to think about, to Pete Alonso. So with all of this being said, Schwarber is going to be 33 heading into next season. Alonso will be 31 heading into next season. So I ask you the question, would you rather Kyle Schwarber or Pete Alonso? I know a lot of the comments in the chat have skewed to Schwarber, which makes sense. This is a Phillies podcast. You're all Phillies fans. And I think I would say if Pete Alonso played for a team not named the New York Mets, you might give this some more credence. However, I think that this is a really intriguing question to ask. I myself am slightly leaning Kyle Schwarber. And I think the reason that I'm leaning Kyle Schwarber is because I think that there is a really good chance that Kyle Schwarber maintains his offensive ability late into his 30s. That's not to say that I don't think Pete Alonso can. Much like Kyle Schwarber, Pete Alonso has incredibly quick hands. His bat speed is I think it's in the 92nd percentile of baseball. It might even be a little bit higher than that last year. But I think both of these guys have incredibly quick hands. Schwarber's chase rates are a little bit better. His whiff rates are worse. Alonso's right about league average in most of those categories, right in that like 50 to 55%. At least last year, like chase rate 52, whiff rate was 40, strikeout rate was 40, walk rate was 53. Meanwhile, Schwarber doesn't chase. He's in the 90th percentile, and his walk rates are in the 97th percentile, but his swing and miss stuff is much greater compared to Alonso. I think when you balance both of these guys, I don't expect either of these two guys to have any kind of fall off in the next couple of seasons. I think signing either of them offensively is a good move. If you lose the lefty power but get the righty power, or you don't sign the righty power and you bring the lefty power back, I think either of these guys make your offense better. And it's a reason as to why in an article that ranks tier 1 players, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players in tier 1, and both of these guys are in it. Because I think they're 2 of the 3 or 4 best hitters available. Schwarber, Alonso, Bichette, Tucker, and then Bellinger after that probably. But you're talking about 2 of the 3 or 4, 2 of the 5 best hitters that are available in free agency. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these guys. I lean Schwarber just because known quantity here. Doesn't mean that Alonso wouldn't make sense. Right-handed power is something the Phillies have desperately needed. But I lean Schwarber slightly just because of known quantity here. Both guys would make the Phillies better. Schwarber has made the Phillies better. Alonso, even in the stead of Schwarber, would keep that trajectory going where you've got a guy who's probably going to hit 35 home runs, drive in 110 plus. And I don't know if he hits 272 again, but if he's closer to like a 250, 255, you're in a good spot. So let me ask you in the chat. I've seen most say Schwarber, again, which makes sense being a Phillies podcast and Phillies fans. A couple of people, who was that said Pete, says more clutch. Is that Dave Leo?
Yeah.
Dave Leo says Pete. I don't know if Dave is a Phillies fan or a Mets fan, but either way, thank you, Dave, for being a part of today's show. Again, I think my mic just broke. Most fans say Schwarber in the chat. I'd be interested to your thoughts, but let's welcome our second member of the program today, our producer, our co-host. That is our buddy, Ethan Hartley. Ethan, if I just asked you this, sitting at the bar, hanging out, having a drink, Schwarber or Alonso?
I've been fairly low on Alonso for
interesting
pretty much a lot since his rookie year.
Is it the batting average?
He's just never been.
Schwarber's not been great either in that category.
I just don't. He's never been like a super appealing player when I watch him. Damn, poor Mike.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Yeah, go ahead. You can keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, just Bill Matt says wants to stay with the Mets is a major red flag. I find that funny. It probably is true to some extent, but yeah, just I don't know. Maybe it's just my own bias and that it's the Mets and they're kind of big spenders, low production kind of team. It's like I don't know. I've just never been the biggest fan of him.
Sure.
Ever since he came into the league. Yeah, his rookie year was phenomenal, and I think that was when I was hounding him most. And then he almost just kind of like plateaued out a little bit.
Obviously he's never reached that 53 mark again. He's never broken 50.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you have a guy who since 2021, because 2020 obviously the COVID shortened season, 36, 40, 46, 34, 38. So your baseline to me is like this is a 35 to 40 home run hitter. Point blank. If he plays every game, which he basically has since he's come into the league, RBI totals 94, 131, 118, 88, 126. That's a 100-plus RBI guy as well. Walk rates are, they're decent. He's above average, 53%. Much like Schwarber, he's going to strike out a lot, but not as much as Schwarber. 172, 162, 151 over the last 3 seasons. They're high strikeout numbers. Schwarber strikes out a little bit more. Schwarber has had more home runs in 2 of the last 3 seasons, including 56 this year, which was his like monumental power. I don't want to say power surge because he's like a 45 home run guy a year, but it was like his biggest power production. Both of these guys have really good OPS, good slugging because of the home runs. Pete Alonso last year, 41 doubles, led the National League, which is obviously a number that Freddie Freeman has run with for like a decade. Mm-hmm. Pete Alonso led the National League in doubles this past season. I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah. The floors are very high. I'm obviously not expecting either one of them to really bottom out at just like any point, like just a complete fall off. But yeah, I don't know. I've just never been the biggest fan of him. So I don't know if it'd be really, like I wouldn't feel any better about it. I mean, like I don't, some players experience this when they, just a change of scenery is so necessary for them. And I guess if I'm so low on the Mets, then I guess I should also expect, a surge and a change of scenery. Like I remember when there were rumors at least that he could end up in Milwaukee. And I thought, that'd be phenomenal because, they work on such a minimum budget where it's, they have to create value out of coaching and skill set and not just like paying out money for guys that are just like strictly better.
Yeah.
So
and as you brought up, and I know it's been brought up in the chat, like I think there's value for somebody that wants to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wanted to be a Met last year. It's why he signed the balloon deal. I think he wants to be a Met still. I think he wants to stay in New York. I think if you have a player that wants to be somewhere, you're going to have to overspend. And I don't mean overspend in terms of like foolishly, but you are going to have to give more money to go get a guy like that. Now, I like to, when I look and do research for players not in Philly, I also like to see what fans think and what they're talking about. And the ultimate cesspool of fandom in anything, whether it's sports, music, TV, movies, whatever, is Reddit. So I pulled this chat from a Reddit conversation about Pete Alonso, which I presume was mostly Mets fans. Now, I blanked out their names just to give people a little bit of autonomy. Like, they didn't ask to be put on my show. I just pulled this from Reddit, so I blanked out their names. What's that?
It might be me in there.
You could be. You are the biggest Pete Alonso hater I've ever met, as I found out in the last 10 minutes. I'm just going to read you some of the things. The headline of this one was, his only elite skill is his power bat, which is tied to his exceptional bat speed. I don't know if that's his only elite skill. It's his best skill, right? No question about it. It's his best skill. And sure, power bats oftentimes are tied to bat speed. You could say the same thing about Schwarber. I just don't personally think Schwarber or Alonso's bat speed is going to slow down the way that this poster does. Like most consistently and precipitously are the two words that this poster use. Lots of guys who only slug absolutely go off a cliff around 33. We've seen that before. There's no question about it. I think these two guys specifically aren't going to do it at the 33, 34 mark. I think they're probably closer to like the 37, 38 mark, which if you're signing Schwarber for a 4-year deal, that's where you get to 38. If you're signing Alonso to a 5-year deal, you get to 36. I think that's where, if you have that drop off, sure, you have that argument later in their contracts, right? But that person finishes with saying, I'm all for re-signing him. I think he's earned the team's confidence, but it's really not baseless for people to think he will fall off a lot. I don't think he's going to fall off a lot. I think he's going to fall off a little bit, but not a lot. Follow-up comments were agreed, plus he has a propensity to swing at the breaking balls away on the outside corner, which his chase rates tell you that that's not as true as I think people want to believe. He was 52% last year in terms of chase rates. He was 67% the year prior, 56th percentile the year before that. Now, 2022, he was at 33.5%, the 19th percentile. We're talking about 4 years ago. That's a different player 4 years ago. So if you want to have the chase rate conversations, it's fine, but you're talking about a guy who was 2022. The thing I don't want to get into is like body builds. Like they're talking about with Schwarber and with Alonso, both of these guys are naturally strong guys, right? They're not the chiseled cut guys that have the propensity to like pull muscles and have those types of issues, right? Mm-hmm. But there is something to be said that both of these guys who are more of the naturally strong builds have pretty much played every game for 5 years now. If you want to say the difference maker, I don't think the difference maker is chase. I think the difference maker is plate discipline. And that is a fine place to be because, as we said, Pete Alonso's at league average in terms of walks and things like that, whereas Kyle Schwarber is in the 97th percentile of walks and has been at that spot pretty much his entire Phillies tenure. So if you want to talk about the eye, the selectivity, the plate discipline, if that's where you want to go with that conversation, that's totally fine to me. I think if you were to say, give me either of those guys, I'd be happy. But now that I know that Schwarber's been a Philly for the last 4 years and what he's done incrementally to get better as a hitter, I lean Kyle Schwarber in this conversation.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of the stuff that you said.
All right, let's pause. On the other side, we'll check in with the chat. Thanks so much for being a participant in this portion of the show. I've got one more question for you as well. It's a little bit more, it's not one-to-one. It's a little bit more like trying to put pieces of the puzzle together. We'll also talk about the Tarik Skubal conversation. I want to get into Cristopher Sánchez, and then we're going to do our trivia at the end of the show. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity Lounge, and we will be right back after this. All right, you know what's coming up this weekend. That game, Dallas, Philly, hometown squad versus the hated rival. And if you want to watch all of the pro football games this weekend, you have to have Xfinity. There's no lagging, no buffering, no switching between apps trying to find any games. If you call yourself a big fan, you have to have Xfinity, where you find all the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. And the way that you watch becomes next level. It's the perfect fan flex where you get all the action right there in your living room. Plus, with Xfinity's best picture and sound enhanced with 4K, you're going to feel like you're at the stadium anyway. You don't have to travel or worry about concessions or parking or anything like that. It's with Xfinity that you get all of that right there in your living room. And on top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's the best seat in the house all the time. Next game day, make sure the big fan in your life isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. And while we're here, let me tell you about our friends over at Elkin Chevrolet. Listen, you know who's playing championship-level Black Friday deals every single day. That's our friends at Elkin Chevrolet, right off Route 73 South in Marlton. It's just a three-man team. It's Jason, Adam, Josh. They're brothers who are in the store daily. They're calling the shots, and they deliver wins because they love what they do. There's no strikeouts. There's no balks. It's just a hometown squad with a deep bench of Chevys and Black Friday deals that will make you cheer. They call it honkin' good service. And trust me, it's a home run every time. So if you're scouting for a new Chevy or a pre-owned MVP, make your next move at Elkin Chevrolet. Real brothers, real deals, and a whole lot of honkin' good service. Shop now at elkinchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli and Ethan Hartley here. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. It appears that the names have been changed once again, Ethan. Does anybody know what YouTube's doing? This is like the 9th time this year that this has happened. So I see our friends. I know most of our friends' handles by now, but it's a whole lot easier when your name just pops up. So let's say hello to Frank Barber, Ray Schumacher, Elephant in the Room, Clarence Gramley, Alex Green, Bill Matt's in the chat. What's up, Bill? RF, Linda, Dave Leo, Provolone John, Chris Slem. Who else is here that we haven't said hello to just yet? Frank Barber. Everybody who's here, thanks so much for being a part of today's show. I really appreciate the lively chat early on. Appreciate you all being here. Go Birds, Frank. We'll talk to you later after your work call. Thanks so much for being a part of today's show. Let's get to question number 2 on the day, which is a little bit more, you have to kind of think about putting, as I said, it's like it feels more jigsaw-like, putting pieces together. What's up, Broad Street Bullies? You got to put these pieces together a little bit more and fit the puzzle, how you're going to construct your offense and your lineup for this year. This question, because JT Realmuto was in tier 2, would you rather a JT Realmuto re-sign and a right-handed platoon player, meaning you're either getting a right-handed left fielder or maybe a corner infielder, so it's Realmuto and a right-handed platoon type of player, or would you rather spend the money on Kazuma Okamoto and sign a catcher like Victor Caritini? So first things first, we've talked at length about JT's return on this show. I think it is one of the most important signings that the Phillies can make this offseason, is the return of JT Realmuto for a plethora of reasons. A, the comfortability and familiarity with the pitching staff that JT has. That rapport, that battery is so important. B, there's not a lot of catchers who can do both, like perform on both sides of the plate well. And while JT is not the same guy that he was in 2019 and 2021, I still think he's one of the better offensive catchers in baseball. We also know about the pop time. JT Realmuto still leads the league in baseball in pop time, and I think it's 5 of the last 6 seasons. And the one year that he didn't, I want to say he was like 3rd. I've also talked about Victor Caritini in this one, and I think he's one of the very few free agent catchers that if you don't re-sign JT Realmuto, that I would even entertain the conversation of. So let's take a look at their numbers comparatively. It's pretty similar. JT and Caritini off by just 2 points in the average, a 257 to a 259. Both hit 12 home runs. JT drove in 6 more runs, 52 to 46. Caritini's slug is a little bit better, 404 to 384. The pop time is the difference. And this is where we get into the one side of the ball versus the other. JT Realmuto continues to be the cornerstone pop time to second base guy, a 1.86, led all of Major League Baseball last year. Victor Caritini, meanwhile, was on almost the opposite side of this. His 2.05 was one of the worst in baseball this season in throws to second base. This really doesn't put this conversation into the scope as much as the next part does. But I think what this question really does is kind of put the value on the catching position versus the bat itself from the catcher spot. Because both of these guys have had, 2025 was an example of like their offensive productivity was relatively similar. And one could even argue that Caritini, in less at bats, had a better offensive season. But defensively, it's especially in terms of pop time and throwing out runners, JT was the guy. He has been the guy for a long time. The reason that I put this into this perspective specifically, because another player in tier 2 that I'm starting to get more and more intrigued with is Okamoto, who was posted this past week, and they have, 40 some odd days still for this player to sign. I don't know what position Okamoto is going to play. Could he play third? Could he play first? Does he have to eventually settle into a DH role? I don't know the answer to that question. He's played some third in Japan. He's played some first in Japan. I don't know if he sticks as a major league third baseman, but even if you're worried about the defense, offensively, the bat is legit. Now, I don't think he gets the immediate shine that Murakami does because Okamoto's never hit 56 home runs in a season, or have 117 average exit velocity, or premier at exit velocity, top end exit velocity like Murakami does. But the thing that Okamoto does do that Murakami doesn't do, or maybe doesn't do that Murakami does, is not strike out and not whiff. Both of those numbers are significantly better than what Murakami did. In fact, Okamoto's strikeout rate last year was in the 93rd percentile in the Japanese league. And in his just under 1,100 games played, he hit over 250 home runs, or almost 250 home runs, and over 700 RBI. And his OPS through that time was 882. From 2018 to 2023, he hit 30-plus home runs every season and drove in at least 93 in 5 of those 6 seasons. He's not young. He's 29. But I guess comparably for this team, he is fairly young when you think about Turner and Harper and Schwarber and Wheeler and who else am I missing? JT. Like the whole group as a collective, with the exception of a couple guys who aren't that young themselves anymore, is an older veteran group. So if you put this guy into the mix, if you're okay with maybe subpar defense at third, or another conversation of bringing him in and having him maybe play first base and Harper DHs, or bring him in and Harper can move back to the outfield, it's another kind of conversation about moving pieces. But if you're fine with limited defense, this kid can hit. There's no question about it that this guy can hit. And quite frankly, as I dive deeper into the numbers, I am significantly more intrigued in Okamoto than I am in Murakami. Significantly more intrigued. Now, again, when we talk about these guys, I want to make it very, very clear. I'm talking about box scores. I'm talking about metrics. I'm talking about highlights. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm sitting watching a ton of the Japanese league games. I'm just not. So when we have these conversations, I can only do it in the construct of the numbers that are provided to us and what your eyeballs tell you on highlights and clips. I don't know how either of these guys fare, but I think if I'm talking about a floor for both of these guys, I think Okamoto's floor is higher than Murakami's. I think Murakami's ceiling is higher because that power could translate in a huge way. But I also do worry about the strikeout rate. I mean, Ethan, we talked about it, what was it, last Friday maybe or something like that? The whiff rates are gross for Murakami.
I think I saw a graphic. He's under 100 against pitches higher than 93.
Which, by the way, is I don't know, every pitcher in Major League Baseball at this point.
You're not... Yeah.
93 is slow at this point in baseball. There was a time where 93 was average, and you had a couple of guys who was like, wow, that dude throws 99. Remember when Billy Wagner was touching 99, 100, and they would flash up the red fire emblem? You know what I'm talking about? The logo would flash up it was the smoke. And now it's just 94. Guy better be left-handed. Because if you're throwing 94 from the right side, I don't want him. With the exception of a handful of guys who are just pinpoint accurate. But I think if you're talking about advanced velocity, that's pretty much everybody in Major League Baseball at this point. And if his numbers are, I think it was 095, right? Was the number that it was? Mm-hmm. That's scary too. I think the ceiling for him, Murakami that is, could be astronomical. But I also think the floor could be very, very low. I think Okamoto is a safer bet with a really good floor. And with that being said, I love JT. I've advocated for JT for a long time on this show, and I think he is a premier returnee, a premier re-signee. If you offered me this option, I might take Okamoto and Caritini.
Yeah, I'm probably not far off either. I think just based on where these players are at and depth above all in this lineup. I mean, we've seen for years now. Well, I mean, you can look at just what happened this past World Series. Ernie Clement, just, as a bottom 3 hitter, just awesome.
Sure.
Right? This team needs much better depth. I mean, there's been some improvement. I mean, at one point it was the worst of the worst with Johan Rojas, just
sure.
An automatic out. So
and when we've talked about this before. I think you have 2 guys in your lineup that would benefit greatly from sliding down. Alec Boehm and Brandon Marsh. If Brandon Marsh hits 8th, I think you're in a good spot. Brandon Marsh hitting 5th in a postseason against the Dodgers starting rotation is a recipe for disaster because you had no other options. If Alec Boehm hits 6th, I think you're in a good spot. Alec Boehm is not a cleanup hitter. So if those two guys can benefit from somebody hitting in front of them, like somebody hitting 5th or somebody hitting 7th or somebody hitting 6th and Boehm moving to a 7 spot, that's a huge win for this team. We talked about what Bader did for their depth, their lineup depth, and he helped, no question about it. But they still, even with Bader, needed somebody in that 5 spot. Really, quite frankly, they needed somebody in the 4 spot. But I would have even settled for somebody in the 5 spot if you could have given me a solidified 6, 7, 8, 9, which I thought we were closer to, but still never got there. And having Boehm hit 4 and Marsh hit 5 in an elimination game doesn't give you the warm and fuzzies inside.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, that's just, it's not good. And I think I'd rather take kind of the two players if they can still perform well to what JT would be at this point. Certainly you sacrifice defense a little bit. And
so I want to ask you one more before we wrap this up. If it's not JT and you're getting one of those one or the other type of catchers, would you prefer an offensive catcher who's not good behind the plate or a better defensive catcher who's not much of an offensive threat? Especially considering what we just said.
Yeah, that's really hard to answer.
I hate catchers who can't play defense. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Which would be incredibly hypocritical to the last 3 minutes of this show. But I think in that one specific instance, if I'm getting a one or the other, I want the defensive catcher, which would be like, well, why do you want Caritini then? His pop time stinks. Because at least in that instance, that one individual instance, I'm bringing in two guys who I think can both hit. At least, I don't know if he's a 500 at bat catcher. You might have to split some time. But I think in that instance, I would love to see an Okamoto signing. I've been more intrigued by this guy by the day.
Yeah, this lineup needs some change to it. I mean, we're probably going to be due to see some moves in the near future, but I'm never opposed to adding more depth to this lineup. And if that means losing defense a little bit, losing a beloved player in this city, I think it's necessary at this point.
All right, so let's pause on the other side. I want to get into this Tarik Skubal conversation. If we have time, we'll also discuss Cristopher Sánchez, and then we're going to play some Friday afternoon trivia at the end of the show with a buddy of ours here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity Lounge, and we will be right back after this. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365, and you find out why 90 million users worldwide have teamed up with the live in-game betting pioneers, because you can stream 780,000 events across 78 different sporting platforms every single year. You're never going to be wanting for a different sporting event that you can get in on the action and the live in-game action as lines and odds change all of the time. And how about this? Right now for new users, sign up, use that promo code at the bottom of the screen, PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for just $5, and you'll get $200 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. You can use the bonus bet money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. You find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, listen up. You know that feeling, right? You walk into the jewelry store for the first time and you're trying to pick out that special ring for that special someone, and suddenly you're in over your head. A million questions are swirling through your mind. What are the 5 C's? How much am I able to spend? What's the right spot and size and cushion and clarity for the ring that my partner is going to love? That's where our friends Joe and Michelle at Bucci Jewelry and Design have been a game changer. They make the whole process seamless. They're going to make you feel like family, and they're going to make you feel like one of one. They listen to you, help you figure out everything that you need, and then their team is going to design something completely custom right there in-house. There's no pressure, no pushy sales vibes, just good people who love what they do. Plus, when you had 30 years in the game and they're voted Phillies #1 jeweler year after year and over 1,000 5-star reviews, it kind of all speaks for itself. So check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them that the guys at PHLY sent you. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zula here, Ethan Hartley hanging out with us as well, and you in the chat. We will be joined by a special guest who's just lingering right now. I see him. He's in the shadows. He looks like Batman, just hanging out in the chat in just a couple of minutes. He's here now. We'll talk to him in a minute. I want to ask him the question. I want to actually, while he's here, I want to play the video for him as well. Let's get into our big takeaway of the day, which is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. And learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that as we welcome in our special guest for the day. That's our buddy Bill Matz.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, Bill? Oh, we figured we'd do a little Philadelphia PHLY Phillies crossover because we do it anyway.
Why not? I mean, that's basically what Philadelphia is.
So let's figure we'd have some fun.
20 extra minutes.
So we're going to get to trivia in a little bit, but I want to run this segment with you, the big takeaway segment, because I just need some confirmation that I'm not crazy. From you, from Ethan, from everybody in the chat. Tarik Skubal's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
He did just win his second consecutive Cy Young Award.
That seems good. That seems like a good player you would want to keep.
Why would you be entertaining thoughts of trading him?
It really is. It's shocking, right? Like,
Weird.
Why? It's like the hardest thing to find, and you have it. I feel like Detroit isn't historically like one of those franchises, right? Like that. Oh yeah, we're not paying a guy. That's not happening. Like it feels weird.
It does, especially considering since that Miggy, Vimar, and the great pitching staff, Verlander, Porcello, Scherzer teams, the Tigers have not been very good.
No, and it feels like they've been building towards this.
Right.
And they have the core. Why are you going to break that up now?
It's weird. So I watched this on the Foul Territory podcast the other day. Tarik Skubal joined the Foul Territory group. I love that show. I think they do an awesome job. Skubal was on himself. This is directly from Tarik Skubal. I wanted you guys to hear it as well. When he kind of addressed trade rumors and, especially in an era of social media, you hear everything. Players hear everything we talk about.
They hear it.
So I wanted to listen to what Tarik Skubal himself had to say when it comes to these addressing these trade rumors.
The way social media is, it's hard not to see things about yourself, especially when it's talking about trades and kind of all those hypotheticals. But, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to impact who I am day-to-day basis. It's not going to impact, the way I'm going to work out or the way I'm going to throw or prepare to get my body ready to go for another season. So it's all out of my control. You see it. I think as a player, you don't really unless you want to be traded, but that's a whole different situation. But it's not like I want to be traded. So it does kind of hey, why am I in this? Why am I in these conversations to begin with?
No.
He wants to pitch in Detroit.
Also very smart there. Hey, I'm not going to be the villain. If I get traded, it's on the team.
It's on you guys.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. I would do it too.
Absolutely.
Because the reports of that they're $150 million apart. That's unless the Tigers offered him
It's
$80 million.
Unless he's asking for $500 million.
Right.
What are we doing here?
and I get everybody in the chat are saying they don't think playoffs and the mention of Doc Holliday never pitching in the playoffs for Toronto. The Tigers have been in the postseason the last 2 years. They won the Central last year. They collapsed down the stretch a little bit, which was unfortunate, but they still made the postseason this year. You don't do it without him. He's the best player on your team by a lot. He's the best pitcher in baseball, in my estimation, right now. And I just find it very strange that all of a sudden they go, well, if we can't really work out a deal, we might think about moving him. Yeah, okay, you might get 5 top 10 prospects back, but what if none of them are any good?
That's the other part. I guess you could do it for prospects, but where they are kind of in their window, maybe you could flip him for 3 all-star-ish caliber guys, and perhaps you get better in the aggregate there, but who's doing that? If you have 3 of those guys, you're probably also a contender. I don't see a benefit here unless it's we're just not going to pay him what he wants.
So the last time, before 2024, the last time the Tigers made the postseason was 2014. They went 90-72. That was the end of that, what we thought could be almost a dynasty level team. They were that good. They missed the playoffs in 2015 They won 86 games in 2016 but missed the postseason. Every year after that, won no more than 64 games, including a 47 and 114 season. And then won no more than 78 games until last 2024 when they won the division. When they went to the postseason as a wild card team. I said they won the division. I apologize. But they've lost in the ALDS each of the last 2 years, which means they've gotten out of the wild card round each of the last 2 years.
It's not even like the fake part of the postseason. Like you're actually in the DS.
Right. And so what else do the Tigers need to do to see that this guy is the cornerstone of their franchise?
It just seems so short-sighted because even if we're just not sure about that level of investment, like it'll pay itself back in gate revenue in the playoffs. If you get rid of him and don't make it, you're going to, we saved on his contract. And you also lost yourself millions in gate revenue.
So I saw this from Sleeper Mets on Twitter. They said, hypothetical trade for the Mets to acquire Tarik Skubal, which, by the way, makes a ton of sense. We talked about Skubal the other day going there. Who did we talk about, Ethan, the other day? Oh, Ketel Marte. The Mets are in line to trade for somebody big, and I think they might this offseason. So this was the hypothetical. Tarik Skubal to the Mets for Jonah Tong, their number 4, Brandon Sproat, their number 5, both starters, Jet Williams, their number 3, can play pretty much everywhere, and Ronnie Mauricio, who is a middle infielder. I saw a lot of comments from Mets fans that are like, I'm not giving up 3 of my top 5 prospects. For Tarik Skubal?
You and I have been through this. I don't believe in prospects, especially in baseball. I think they're imaginary until they become all-stars, quite honestly. I watched the Phillies trade guy after guy during their height. You know what happened? Nothing bad.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened. You know what did happen? 5 straight division titles.
And the acquisition of Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, Cliff Lee, Hunter Pence. Who am I missing that they got that was a big deal? Even just those 4, that's enough. And then your core grows together. I think Jonah Tong is going to be good. I think I like him a lot. Brandon Sproat, I'm okay on. Their big one to me is Nolan McLean. I think that he's untouchable at this point. Jet Williams is loved in the Mets farm system and amongst the fan base. I'm sorry. You got a chance to get Tarik Skubal. I'd make that. Now, granted, the Mets farm system is better than the Phillies farm system. So I'm speaking from if they said, hey, give me Justin Crawford and player X and player Y, who are 4 and 5 in the Phillies farm. I don't know who it is off the top of my head. I would do it in a second. The Mets are better. They're a much more deeper farm system. But I would make that move.
And again, where the Mets are in their compete window, so you're worried about 10 years from now? That's what you're telling me. You're worried about 10 years from now and not today. So that's crazy. Oh, I wouldn't. You're nuts then. For the best pitcher in baseball.
Justin Crawford, Gage Wood, Aaron Escobar. That's 3, 4, 5. Now, again, not nearly as highly touted as the Mets 3, 4, 5. But if you said Justin Crawford, Gage Wood, Aaron Escobar for Tarik Skubal, I would go pick up Tarik Skubal in Detroit in my own personal car.
I would throw in Lou Marson just as a sweetener.
That's our big takeaway segment of the day. It's brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. Xfinity, imagine that. We're going to save the Cristopher Sánchez conversation for Monday because I think it's evergreen enough. Let's pause. I want to get to trivia. Ethan, Bill, and the chat versus the question. Coming up here on the other side, it's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We broadcast live from the Xfinity Lounge, and we'll be right back after this. All right, whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win with BetParx Online Casino. Check out incredible online games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen, which is a BetParx exclusive. It's just a small sample of the reason why it's the only app I would ever use to play all of my favorite casino games right there in the palm of my hand. You can play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and so many different online slots like Cash Eruption, and some based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead and Squid Game. New users right now also get up to $1,000 in casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Head on over to betparx.com, download the app today, and enjoy all of the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. Must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play, you play to win, you bet BetParx. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And let me tell you about some of our newest friends here at PHLY. It's our friends at Togo. Listen, do you want to make a trade for an elite level player? You probably should. Do you want to make a trade for a not elite level player? That's not worth the risk, time, or money. And that's why when you keep your stars focused on doing what they do best, it helps your company do what it does best, whether it's in professional sports or here in the podcasting business. And that's where Togo comes in. You don't want to worry about tedious, time-consuming, and redundant activities that wear your team down. That's where Togo steps in. They are an integrated part of your team with management steps every step of the way and a free process mapping and engineering. There is no cost, no commitment to you until the real work begins. With programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, you're not going to break the bank, and you're going to have more time and more peace of mind to do what you are supposed to do. At Togo, turning your playbook into performance is their mission. You call the plays, they execute it their way, and they advise along the journey. So head on over to harnesstogo.com, scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, our special guest, Bill Matz, Ethan Hartley in the chat. Ethan Hartley producing, you in the chat. Ethan might be in the chat too. I don't know. Let's get to our Friday trivia question of the day. And our Friday trivia question today, since we're in free agency period and nothing big has happened just yet, I went back to 2012. And since 2012, the Phillies have signed 17 free agents to multi-year deals. Now, this does not include re-signing players who were previously under contract with the Phillies. Between Bill, Ethan, and the chat, how many of these 17 players do you guys think you can name?
Ooh, this is... All right, so like Harper, Schwarber, Casty, like easy ones right off the top.
Yep.
Wheeler and Walker.
Mm-hmm.
2012, so Papelbon.
Yep.
All right, we need, 11 more?
So you got Papelbon, Harper, Wheeler, Casty and Schwarber, and Walker, correct?
Yes.
All right, so that's what you're at so far. So you are done 2020. You're done 2022. There was nobody signed in 15, 16, 17, or 21, 24, or 25.
Was Uncle Larry a multi-year deal?
He was.
Oh, okay, nice.
2019, Andrew McCutchen.
I totally forgot McCutchen until just now. I think I'm cooked. Wow, I thought I was going to do a lot better at that. When I saw the question, I was like, oh, yeah, that's something my memory will jog, but no.
Ethan?
Ethan's going to crush this, I feel.
And you kind of ripped off some of the easy ones.
There's a couple.
Yeah, I took the easy ones.
There's a couple of big ones still available that you've not said yet.
Was
A couple of guys still on the team.
Was Santana a 2-year deal?
Carlos Santana?
Yeah.
It was. Carlos Santana, 2018. That's a good pull.
A couple of guys still on the team.
Yeah, a couple of guys still on the team.
JT was a trade, right?
JT
that
was a trade.
Was
Yep,
Strahm-
trade and extension.
Was Strahm a 2-year deal?
Strahm was a 2-year deal originally, yep. Missing a big one, guys. Like not just a big player, but like a massive deal.
Ray Schumacher says Trey Turner. Was Trey Turner not said?
No, you guys did not say Trey Turner.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's
like the big one.
That's
Yeah.
really
That was
ridiculous.
left.
That's
So nobody
Okay.
before 2019 now.
nobody before
You got everybody
2019.
in this decade.
Oof. Now we're talking.
You're left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more guys.
That was ridiculous. Not getting Trey Turner. That's silly. Damn. We got to go to the chat here.
Oh, Jake Arrieta.
Jake
Yeah,
Arrieta is
yeah.
in the conversation.
yes.
2018.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so gung ho. Go. He's just sitting there. Go get Arrieta.
Well, I think it made so much sense. They needed pitching
was
so
the right
bad,
move. It just
and they were
didn't
like,
work.
"Hey, we suck, but we're going to give you a lot of money."
yeah, just come on in. We need like someone to throw some innings.
And I thought his first year was good.
Yeah.
After that, it was a pretty significant downturn. But
Yeah.
yep, Jake Arrieta. So 1 from 19, 2 from 18, and 1 from each of 12, 13, and 14.
Elephant in the room, Didi Gregorius.
Didi was
Didi.
originally a 1-year deal.
Really?
Yes, and then
Oh.
signed an extension.
Not Didi.
Yeah, it was not
wow.
Didi.
Yeah,
I was, yeah.
multi-year deals, man. It is wild that they just went through a phase of not signing
Anybody. It was
They're
a,
like, yeah, we're not going to be any good. There's why spend the money.
it was a ton of 1-year deals. But yeah, I mean, they basically signed nobody. So Didi signed a 1-year, $14 million deal and then signed a 2-year extension after that.
So we're still on there's one player from 2019.
One player from 2019.
2019.
This player was on the roster in 2025,
On the
but
roster.
on a different contract.
Is it
It is David Robertson. Yes,
Oh,
signed a 2-year
wow.
deal in 2019.
All right. I
I think that was his first stint.
Was really thinking it was just all 1-year deals.
That's what I thought.
Who the
Ray
hell?
Schumacher says Gene Segura.
Not Gene. They signed Segura.
Is that also one?
You know what? I want to say almost. I almost want to say, did they trade for Segura?
Was that?
Oh, they
Crawford?
did.
They traded. Yes, it was J.P. Crawford and Carlos
Crawford,
Santana.
yes.
Yes.
And Santana. Okay, so that was all one deal. All right.
There is one outfielder, one utility guy, and 3 relievers.
All right. Is one of the who was the relief pitcher that like collected cards and asked for autographs? That like real mark guy. He made an all-star game, but he was a mark.
You got the right guy.
I will never think of his.
Absolutely funky delivery.
Yes.
You got the right
He
guy.
was like their lone all-star.
He was the dude that said, "I don't want to be a closer."
Yes, yeah, he
And
was good on it. Like the only guy ever who was like didn't want to play the position where he gets more money.
Yes. You've got the right guy. It's just coming
I
up
am
with his
never
name.
gonna think of his name. I need help, chat. Help me out here.
Was eventually traded to the Rockies. I think they got JD Hammer back in the deal.
Pat Neshek?
Pat Neshek,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Pat Neshek was one of the 2 relievers that they signed in 2018. There's one more.
Okay.
Elephant in the room just got it.
Oh, Tommy
Hunter's the other one.
Hunter.
Tommy Hunter signed a multi-year deal in
What a real
2018. You've got 3 players left, 1 outfielder, 1 reliever, 1 utility guy. I will tell you, the outfielder, it was his second stint with the Phillies.
Schumacher
The
says,
other 2 guys, if you get them, I will be amazed because it's like pulling from the recesses of your brain that like you shuddered.
Schumacher says Brad Miller.
Was not Brad Miller. I think Miller was a 1-year
yeah.
deal.
Ben Revere was a trade.
Ben Revere was for Worley and Trevor
Worley,
May.
Yeah. Now I'm just having trouble remembering years. I feel like everything from 2012 to 2015
I will
is the
say
same.
the outfielder that was on his second stint is a name you'll remember.
This is gonna
The other 2
piss me
guys,
off,
like I
seriously.
will be amazed and like not amazed because I don't think you can do it. Just amazed because like you haven't thought of either of these guys in a decade.
Yeah, that covers a lot of ground.
Elephant in the room is killing it today.
Oh, Marlon.
It's
Bird.
Marlon
That was
Bird.
then?
Yeah, 2014 they
Wow.
signed
That was
Marlon Bird to a multi-year
2014?
deal. Yep.
What the hell were they doing?
Yep.
Well, that's when they were still like, yeah,
They thought they were
We
good.
think we can do it.
Yeah.
2012 was just, we'll figure
Howard
it out.
was broken and
Yeah.
they were starting to trade
Are
guys.
gonna come back. It'll
They
be
were
fine.
terrible.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, Marlon Bird. That's right. All
right, so-
wasn't a free agent, was he?
Odubel, I think, was a Rule 5 pick.
Yeah, he was. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
2012 was a utility player. Also had a brother in the big leagues. I believe his brother also may have played for the Phillies for like a cup of coffee.
Player.
Both of these guys, yeah, he played for the Phillies for 18 games. Both of these guys, both brothers, spelled their names weird, their first names. And it was the same letter that was added for no reason for both of these guys.
Oh, that is gonna.
I would say the
This is
guy that
eating
we're
away at me here.
the guy that we're mentioning now was the better player of the 2. But I would say he was most remembered as probably as a Texas Ranger. Bench guy most of his career.
Oh, because that was. Oh no, that was before that. Yeah, Michael Young was well before that. right?
Ronald Torreyes is not the guy, but what a name pull.
Michael Young was well before this.
It was
right?
not Michael
That's like
Young. Yeah, so
2011
Michael
probably.
Young, I want to say, was probably 2011.
There's a very good chance that was a trade too. What do you got, Ethan? You got
Nah,
anything over here?
this is out of my range.
Michael
in terms
Young
of like
was a trade,
super
2012.
deep cuts.
I feel like whenever we're just sitting out there, Ethan has the answer to every question.
What?
All right,
I'm just like, yeah, I knew that too.
I'll be honest with you. The other guy was a reliever. I remember him pitching for this team. I remember him having some solid seasons in other cities. But if you told me this guy pitched for 2 years with this team and was actually pretty good,
Pitch for 2
No
years,
chance.
It wasn't bad.
his best time, I think, was probably with San Diego. Posted 3 straight years, posted a .7, a 1.7, and a 1.4 from 2009 to 2011. Not with the Phillies, with San Diego.
Yeah.
Was really, really good.
Yeah, Michael Bourne. That was well.
I don't even know how to give you a clue.
I am struggling on this.
Yeah, I don't.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, all right.
I am just going to need to know the answer.
So the
it's gonna bother
reliever
me.
that signed in 2013 was Mike Adams.
Mike Adams.
And the utility
right.
guy, his brother was Jason, spelled it with a Y. He also spelled his name with a Y, was Lance Nix.
Oh, right. We had that run of like signing guys whose names you knew 5 years ago.
Yes, right.
A very Flyers run for the Phils in that era.
I got to give you guys a 15 to 17 on this question is incredible. Well done, guys. So between Bill and Ethan and the chat, thank you. Everybody who's watching on our streaming services, our Roku, our Samsung, our Xfinity streaming services, thanks so much for being a part of today's show. Head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show. We are officially in overtime.
What is this, a Flyers game?
Well, dude, I've been trying to argue for extra innings for months to no avail. This needs to be called extra innings.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like it's not a sponsored bit, right?
Right.
Like so we could just call it whatever we want. Yeah, that's just someone just needs to make the graphic.
I could call it F around 5 minutes if I wanted to. All right, Bill, what do you got coming up on Philadelphia today?
On Philadelphia today, as you can tell, I wish I knew before I got, because I have the sweatpants to go with the velour top. And I didn't know my legs were going to be showing today. But it's going to be the Birds. We're talking Eagles, Dallas. This is the sports radio I grew up on. It's Dallas week, baby. They stop them again. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to have a good time today.
Okay.
I'm going to share more stories of sports trauma and why I still hate the Cowboys even after they've become a reality show, not a real NFL team.
And maybe we'll get to one of our stories that we've been pocketing for 3 weeks now.
Maybe today's the day, Tyler. We just go an hour and a half.
Big thank you to everybody in the chat. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of today's show. Big thanks to Bill Matz for hanging out with us for the final 20 minutes. Philadelphia comes your way in about a half an hour at 1:30. Huge thank you to Ethan Hartley for producing today's show and co-hosting with us as well. We'll be back on Monday afternoon at noon for the next edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast. Until that time, as I said, you've got Philadelphia coming your way at 1:30. No Flyers or Sixers today as you guys have some weekend post-game duties. Flyers will be back in action tomorrow, 6:30 pregame show. Sixers at it on Sunday, and then, of course, PHLY Eagles pre and post on Sunday for Eagles Dallas. So we'll talk more about that game on Philadelphia coming up just in a couple minutes, and we'll be back with you at noon on Monday. Have an excellent weekend. Enjoy your weekend of Eagles football, Flyers, Sixers, and everything that you can get in your hands on for all the sporting events. We'll talk to you on Monday at noon right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.